talking about innovation within the construction sector. And before we get into the first question, I came across a quote last week from Arch Daly, which I thought, that's really, really appropriate. Yeah. So I wanted to start with that and then see where the conversation takes us. So it says, if we compare the state of car manufacturing a few decades ago and how it is now, it's clear how much the automotive industry has evolved. In the field of construction, however, the reality is different. Many processes remain virtually unchanged, with the use of inefficient materials and techniques and an extremely slow adoption of new technology. In fact, in many contexts, it's still highly artisanal, relying on extensive use of raw materials and labour. Innovation in construction is driven by a spirit of exploration, experimentation, and continuous search for improvement, and fosters a mindset of creativity, openness to change, and willingness to take risks. Often this involves applying new technologies, approaches, and perspectives to improve efficiency, effectiveness, sustainability, user experience, and overall performance. But it can also be seen in the more ingenious and efficient use of existing resources. In essence, it's about coming up with new ideas, challenging the status quo, and making meaningful contributions that drive progress and lead to positive transformations across a range of domains. How would you respond to that as a contractor?
It's a lot in there, isn't
Yeah, it's a bit chunky. I'm glad I got through it without stuttering.
Do you know what? Because you told me you were going to drop that in. I've not heard it myself. And yeah. I think it's true. Like you say, there's been huge innovation in like EV and things like that. But the construction industry, we are quite hesitant to accept new products. Even though quite a lot of your products, they are essentially the same products, but just developed to improve, like you say, time saving or money saving, whatever. But we're just so hesitant to take up on it.
Why? Why do you think it is? Because I know we were talking before we started recording, and the one that came up was roller tray.
Yeah.
And we were saying that one's been harder for people to accept or adopt over Conlock and Rapid Seal.
And I think part of the reason is if you see the price of roller tray, but you don't necessarily know enough about it.
Yeah.
You look at the bottom line and you go, okay, it's more expensive. But when you actually put it side by side with all the ancillary bits you need with tray and the equivalent length and everything else, it's actually probably exactly the same price. I would have said.
Well, I mean, when you factor in based on the exercises that we've done, which are available on our website for anybody wondering, we've, as you say, factored in the cost of the traditional materials versus the innovation.
Yeah.
And then when you start putting in what's the cost of even an apprentice?
And
how long does it take per? So take Conlock for example. What's the cost to install one box or per spout?
Yeah.
And then how does that compare to the innovation? And then over time you save. I mean, that's why we could say 75% labour savings. And
yeah, definitely. I think the trouble is a lot of people, they don't see that saving in labour because they're just looking at that figure when they're costing a job. They look at that and they don't necessarily adjust to suit. Because if you did a huge commercial project and you were floor installation using roller tray, and you could save yourself potentially 2 weeks of labour over 6 months, say.
Yeah.
Say that was £20,000 worth of labour. Well, if you reduced your price by £10,000, you're more competitive and you're going to increase your profits by £10,000.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But we're just all quite close-minded, I think.